Oh, Trenton. Trenton, you're muted. Oh, Trenton.
Party foul.
Oh,
Internet
no.
foul.
Party.
Oh,
Well,
no.
welcome to Nerd Cyclopedia. We are your friendly neighborhood
There he
Carbonite
is.
Bounty
There he is.
crew. Is he back? Is he back?
Come on, you guys. You kidding me? Live TV, man. I'm sitting here talking, but yeah.
We hear you now.
Welcome, guys, to another episode of Carbonite Bounty BS. How's everyone doing?
Good. All right.
Great.
Good,
Living the
man.
dream, yo.
Definitely. But yeah, interesting week for everybody. I think we'll get into it pretty quickly. But before we even discuss this week's episode, let's let DP let you guys know where to find us at.
Nerdcyclopedia.com, people. Make sure that you're going to your favorite website, getting on the social media platforms as you usually do, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and also TikTok at Nerdcyclopedia. We are there. If you're listening to us on podcast, we are on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast. We are there. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. And also, if you're watching us on Facebook, thank you. On YouTube, hit that subscribe button and also hit that notification button. So anytime that we're on, you know that we're on. If you're watching us on Facebook, make sure that you share our stuff. So we definitely, love that. Also, while you're on Facebook, Carbonite Bounty BS, the Star Wars group. We have a group that we get together, talk about everything that's Star Wars related, and getting everything, up there for you guys. Also, make sure that you are giving us some feedback at nerds and nerdcyclopedia.com. We got a great email service for you guys to send all your stuff to. Bam, boom, wow.
Well said. And yeah, guys, we've passed now the halfway point on Bad Batch, and we'll get into our initial reactions. I mean, I'll lead because I'll probably be the one that you'll want to hear from the least of this week. So I'm just going to keep it short and sweet, to be honest.
I'd be competing.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to be honest. We talked about it a couple times offline, but personally, this season's just not hitting for me. I mean, there's been a couple episodes, but I don't know. Some of them are okay, but it kind of like it takes a step back for me. Too often it's kind of almost like DuckTales-ish as far as the way it's kind of and it's not like a negative, but I mean, as far as like, I find it just being a little more younger oriented, some of the episodes. And it's kind of missed the mark for me. Omega, we'll probably get into it, but I just need to know where she's at. I mean, she acts like she's a preteen. I thought she was a little older, so I'm just not getting into the character. But overall, the show's great. DP said it a million times. There's just, certain things for certain folks. I just don't think this is one of them for me.
That was harsh.
DuckTales-ish is a new one.
Yeah, DuckTales. I mean, that's got to be George Lucas's worst.
First of all,
endeavor.
Scrooge McDuck.
Come on.
Scrooge McDuck swimming in a vat of money. That's an all-time iconic image. And I'm going to say this for the video game nerds in our audience. I'm sure there's several of them. I will say this: the DuckTales NES video game, an excellent game to speedrun, an old school speedrun I was doing in the 90s. So I will not have. I don't know. I'm okay with your reaction to this show, but I don't like your disrespect to DuckTales, frankly.
No.
We might have to take both of your nerd cards away for about 20 minutes here because
Ken, I knew you would bring it right back in. I knew you'd bring it right back up. So that's why
my nerd card is gone. Finally, it's been 40 years and finally it's gone.
Gone. So let me reset this. Okay. Episode begins. The Crossing. We got a nice Good, the Bad, and the Ugly soundtrack going. Real like Old West style vibe. Super suspenseful. Like I wasn't really sure what was going on. We saw the Marauder flying real close over the surface of this planet. It really it entered very well. I do admit there were some points where I was like, well, what's going on here? But then I got it. about halfway through, this is again just another video game episode where it's a mission. They're on these, the Bad Batch. Like, we don't have Crosshair, we don't have Echo. Okay, so now they're kind of rethinking where they are, the squad. This was the first episode where actually I thought Omega really stepped up and showed her talent. She's skilled. She has finesse. She knows how to work a drill. She knows how to deal with explosives. She knows the sensitivity of this thing. Objective is her main ideal. So is cohesiveness of the squad. She's super bummed out that they're not what they were. So that's why, again, I say Crosshair's coming back, Echo's coming back. We're going to see the Bad Batch reunited at the end. You can cue the nice classical violin music anytime you want, Steel City, because this is going to be a great season finale. And I think everyone is going to appreciate the voyage, the journey on this, because we've seen highs, we've seen lows. I really liked how they got Indiana Jones and Good, the Bad, the Ugly sort of connected here, because we got an adventure, and these travelers, these adventurers keep like getting themselves down a rabbit hole. They're here, they're trapped, they're trying to mine this Ipsium. That doesn't go very well. I don't even know what that is, but they want it and it's cool, whatever. So that failed, and then they're trapped and they got to get out, and then Tech and Omega get washed away down a hole. I mean, there was some really great adventure here. They did a lot in 27 minutes. There's a lot of films and other entertainment vehicles that we all watch that don't even get this good in this amount of time. So the only thing I felt like, I thought this was a great cliffhanger, and we did get it at the end. Like, we don't know where these guys are now, because Sid totally said, "I'll be back with you in 3 days," and hung up. So
I thought that was a highlight of the episode. Sid basically saying "F him." That was like my highlight of the whole week.
Highlight. Well, it was your classical cliffhanger, suspense. Like, what do we do now? We got to wait a whole week. It had some good points, good moments for me. I didn't hate it, didn't love it, but it's still part of the story. So they better pay off at the end. They better write that check, or else they're on big trouble.
Ken with the ultimate positivity, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Get a standing ovation for that one.
I won't stand up, because no one stands up in the virtual world, because we don't know what's going on.
No, we're used to that now. We've been working from home for a while.
Oh boy. You want to go hit your?
Sure. I mean, I'll talk about this thing. So I mean, what was going on with this ore, this Ipsium? You drill into a rock, and then you have like a syringe that sucks it out of I don't understand like the mechanism of this, what it is, what it does, how it works. It's a MacGuffin, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with it. Call it a MacGuffin ore. Great. Don't care. It's fine. I agree with a lot of what Ken said about this being like a video game mission. This felt like Philip with a UH at the end. Philip. I think sometimes we talk about how with the shorter seasons, when we were talking about 5 or 6 episodes in a season like the Obi-Wan series, that there's sometimes too much they try to jam up into too few episodes. And this right now feels like it probably should have been a one-parter. I don't know where they're going with this as far as who's going to show up and rescue them, who stole the ship. I feel like those are questions we're going to get answers to here next week, and I think that's fine. If they pay that off real good, then this setup could really work. As a standalone episode, I mean, not my favorite one. I feel like the other episode we had that was like this, where that mountain exploded into an enormous living death machine that was scorching, creating a wasteland. That was really interesting to me. Right. And this was, I mean, the biggest obstacle they faced was a cave. And to me, I do not want to be in a cave. I would not enjoy that, whole experience, because I'm a little bit claustrophobic. But these guys, I mean, they fight space spiders and robots, and they're probably more
What's
capable.
A cave? Cave is
What's
not,
that?
What's a cave? Cave.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So to me, the questions I have about this episode, the most interesting thing is who stole that ship, where'd they go, what they do with it, is it going to come back? And my thing, and I put this figure on the banner for this week because I want to ask you guys who you think this mysterious figure on this planet is. My thinking is I think that was Boba Fett, and Boba Fett just snuck in and stole their ship, and Boba Fett's capable.
Hair? Boba Fett with blue hair?
Hey, I don't think that's really hair. I think it's a helmet. That's my thinking. Now, look, maybe I'm out of bounds. Maybe they'll answer it and it'll pay off in a different way that's good. But that's who I'm thinking when I'm thinking someone of that stature involving themselves with the Bad Batch. One thing I liked a little bit is at the end, we have this abandoned outpost. I got big time Starship Trooper vibes from this situation. Reminded me of how they show up and everybody's had their brains sucked out of their head, which is gross. But everything's abandoned and they don't know why. It gives this feeling that something ominous is coming for them. And Sid, is going to make them sit on their hands for 3 days in this place. After they read, this is ridiculous. Why would you go back to her at this point? I mean, Rhea Perlman is a national treasure, and she should be in everything that she wants to be in. And I have no problem with his performance or even his character acting like a lizard. They've been warned about this for many times. But I feel like at a certain point, if they go back to her, now I'm going to have a problem with that because now their story's in stasis. And that ultimately was my biggest problem with a show like Shameless on Showtime, was that the characters never made any headway. They just sort of suffered fish swimming upstream. It feels like they're going somewhere, but they're not. So I want to see a little bit more direction. And look, it's hard for there not to be a letdown after the big bad of the entire series just shows up in episode 8.
Yeah.
I mean, Emperor shows up and lays on the Emperor ring like we've never seen before in any other media, putting his thumb on the scale in a way that the American founding fathers foresaw as a problem, which means everybody could have foresaw as being a problem if those guys caught it. And so I think it's natural for there to be a bit of a letdown. Again, Sheev Palpatine in all his imperial majesty, encased and cloaked in the dark side of the Force, and putting his thumb on the galactic historical scales, so much more interesting than Cave. That's what I'll say about it.
First of all, I want to say, Hitch, that dope book back that you got back there, the Star Wars Thrawn. That is awesome.
Library book. Support your local public library.
Definitely support your local library. Make sure you subscribe to Hoopla. Get your free books there. All right, so yeah, I'm more in line with T. Mitch. On this episode, I'm not going to say I'm getting super tired of Omega, but I want to see her not whine so much, not be so naive. I can understand where she's coming from, but they do need to establish her age and where she's at, because some of the questions she just asked and the repeated stuff, are just begs to me, okay, you guys are in almost like a life or death type situation all the time. And some of the questions that she asked just begs to, you're not in like preschool or, kindergarten or whatever, So she's sad because she's lost. They've lost Crosshairs already, but she's not too much of that because she didn't really have a relationship with Crosshairs. Now she's lost Echo and lost a ship. So she's sad like all around. While the other ones are soldiers, they don't really. Okay, they'll get another ship. They make moves and they just move on because they're soldiers and stuff. They've been through stuff like this before. Things like that don't matter to them and everything. And I'm just wanting the story writers, to get her past this point to where, okay, she could be just like them, just move on. Hopefully this is like the high peak of that moment to where she could just be like, okay, well, you just got to move on. And I think she sort of said that at the end of the episode. Sometimes you just got to move on past, all your feelings and everything. And I'm thinking I'm just getting too much feelings and stuff from Omega. So hopefully like I said, they move past that. I was really intrigued by Tech's incapacity for empathy and trying his darndest to actually have it. And I was sort of surprised that Wrecker and Hunter sent him on a thing to sort of fix the situation, because they should know how he is. So I'm like, okay, how is he going to do this? Talk to Omega, because he's not really a talker, to the point of where he's just analyzing and figuring out the best ways to get in and out of situations, to the point where there are calculations in his brain. I'm like, that's just not going to work, so why send him to do that job? Because he's the one that messed it up or whatever. So okay, whatever. But I was intrigued by just him and the way he reacted, and the way he tried to soothe, as best as how he could soothe Omega, and get him to realize, get her to realize, come around to his way of thinking and everything. And I think at the end they sort of like got into like a compromise, which is fine, and it didn't really take away from make this whole overall change of Tech. So I'm glad about that. He is who he is, and that's just how he is and everything. You can't really change him. He doesn't really have that capacity, and I know people like that. So that's how I can really relate. I know people like that. So I think to me that was like the highlight of the episode, just his whole how they did his arc, during the episode. As far as everything else, I could like give or take. The highlights with me this season have been like the Empire stuff. Anything outside of the Empire has been just like meh, for the most part. And I hope this back half of the season we're getting more Empire related stuff, and on the road to, I guess what is Ken is alluding to, getting the band back together.
Yeah. You know what, DP? So let's talk about Omega. So in this episode, I think this was the first time that she contributed in a way that, was specialized to her. She had, finesse. She knew how to use this tool. Mm-hmm. She understood the importance of and the volatility of this mineral that she was mining out of the mountain. And Tech saw that and gave her, he enabled her to be now part of the squad, mm-hmm. because she was the only one that could do this. You don't want Wrecker doing this, right?
Right.
What did Wrecker do? Blow shit up, Right. So Omega has technical finesse that goes beyond what even Tech or Echo had. So there's a lot, I think she's now and I think she's now part of the group a little more because she actually contributed. So I mean, I can
appreciate that. I can appreciate that. I guess what the question I would ask, throw back to you, is she likable to you?
You know what? As long as you have subtitles on, yes. Otherwise, she's lost in the mist. But this episode now gives me some clairvoyance, because now I get it. I understand, where she is and what her place is, because she's not a fighter, although she can defend, and in offense she's not bad with her, her bow and arrow, mm-hmm. But she has a purpose now, because now she, we know we can send her in on those really intricate things, these really specific duties that can really help. She's the she's going to go in and defuse the bomb, just using her skill. So I like her a little bit more. Her, like I said, I do keep subtitles on, so I understand what she's saying, and I'm not, that's not even a joke anymore, because there's some words I gotta rewind and let it play again so I can be sure of what she said, because whoever's doing the voice for this character is doing a very good job. They're making it very sort of alien in a way, but something that we don't really know what dialect she is. but I think she's becoming a little more of a better character, and I appreciate her, and I hope she busts out like Steel City said. Is that Boba Fett that stole the ship, or because that was a question, like that was a big moment in this episode that they kind of let go, like a red balloon. They didn't come back to it. We saw the ship leave, and that was it. It's gone.
Yeah, they were kind of just like, we're screwed, and then let it go.
Gone.
Right.
So I mean, if they do that though, that brings her character 100% to live action. If they bring her brother on the show and like do that as the mic drop, then she 100% has to be either in The Mandalorian or in
Book of Boba.
the Book of Boba season 2 or whatever they're going to call it, chapter 2 or whatever.
Yep, they got to bring her right in there.
I think that's fine.
Yeah,
that's what they're going. I think that's what they're angling for. Look, that's a firm connection between the Clone Wars era and this Mandalorian era, this after Return of the Jedi era. And I think that's good. I think it's good that they tie those things together. And the more of those interweavings there are, I think the better for the plot and the more connected everything is going to feel. Plus, I think there's space for this character as somebody who has acquired the skills of, her compatriots in the Bad Batch and is, if she wasn't a clone of Jango Fett and essentially, Boba Fett, but a female, we'd call her probably a Mary Sue. She's going to end up like Batman. And she just learns all the tech stuff like from Tech. And we know Tech's trying to teach her frantically.
Yeah.
So it would make perfect sense for her to be incredibly resourceful and almost like if she ends up being the diametric opposite of Boba Fett, like a mercenary that won't work for the Empire and only will work for the Rebellion and like goes after Imperial, like I would buy that for sure. So I think there's a spectrum of things that she can end up doing that would be satisfying. And I think at this point we spend so much time on her development that if we're talking about checks that are written, that's a written check.
Yeah.
I think they've spent so much time telling me that Bad Batch is the origin story of this character that she's got to show up and has to. It's not even a question at this point if she should. So I hope that's Boba Fett because that would be cool. And obviously these guys, these clones are capable of a lot, and we know Boba Fett's capable of a lot because it's Boba Fett.
I mean, I guess what you're saying, like Hitch, I guess she's around for a reason,
Yeah.
The clones are pretty much disposable. I want to say,
That's the whole point.
Yeah, yeah. They don't really matter in the long scheme of things and stuff. But Omega, she's there for a reason, and I'm just not seeing where they're going to angle it. But if what you're saying is true, I'm 100% for that.
I don't know if it's true or not. To be frank and clear, this is not some source. There's only one location I pulled this out of. Right. We don't know about it.
And where is that?
It's not your business, sir.
No.
What I do in the confines of my no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I really think that would be interesting, and that's one of the things about an episode like this, right? We could, at the end of the day, like if Luke Skywalker's X-wing flies in here next week, right? Figuratively, not literally, it wouldn't do that because he's 9 and he doesn't have an X-wing yet. But if something like that happens here, we would be super enthusiastic and probably call this a really great 2-parter.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that it is a cliffhanger, like one of those old 1960s Batman, where King Tut has Batman and Robin tied up after beating them up for some reason. Doesn't bother to take any of the masks off, but has them, hung up. And then they say next week, same bat time, same bat channel. I never liked that when I was a kid, and I think I don't like it now because I don't like having a lot of outstanding checks. There's a lot of written checks here. We got to see if they cash. I hope they'll cash.
You got to wait a week.
Yeah.
1 week.
Hey, this is like the old days. It's got to make its way to the Federal Reserve, and then it's got to make its way. If you put the wrong number on it, it goes to the wrong Federal Reserve.
It's
and
got
then next thing you know,
and they got to
the old school
rewrite it.
ACH, yeah.
Yeah. Next thing you know, Tom Hanks is on your tail, and you're running around dating Stewart. I mean, does that sound so bad? Tom Hanks. Anyway, never mind.
But no, I mean, you guys lead into a good point. I mean, overall for the whole show, I think the show will pay itself off. I mean, it's just, I think, as me and DP said, I just expected this to take off to another level. And it seems like it's kind of almost like season one, like it's introducing a lot of things that I felt it should have been introduced or maybe further explained. I just expected the character development and the story to be a little, further along. I mean, realistically, we have what 6, 7 episodes. We still need to know what happens with all the clones, right? Because at the end of this, I mean, these clones are going to start dropping like flies. Whether they do some sort of like reverse Order 66 and target clones, because this is the age of the stormtroopers coming on. So there's a lot. We have Echo out there, we have Crosshair out there. We have to pay that off, and I mean, granted, they can do these obviously in the short medium of an 18 to 20-minute episode, but like you said, there's a lot of checks I feel like that are sitting out there. And I mean, 7 episodes is a lot, but I just feel that there's not a lot of time to get all the stuff that I think we really wanted out of the season finished at this point, at least.
Yeah, this sort of like brings me back to like my CBS like episodic nature that I disdain because I'm more of a serialized, TV watcher. But it's people who like episodic. You got your beginning, middle, and end. And you got your standalone stuff. So you get your story, you're in and out, and that's a pretty popular thing with a lot of TV watchers and stuff. But for my taste, what we got with the first, I really don't, not at all. Yeah. Hawaii 5-0, Magnum PI, whatever thing they want to resurrect and everything, they're all they're doing is just telling the same story over and over again. That's it. But people
where they redo Knight Rider, man.
Didn't they? I feel like they did.
They tried. Yeah, they tried. It lasted a season. It was like 10 years ago and everything.
It was terrible. It was terrible. It sucked.
It was not great. They did not.
It's awful because the AI they put in the new car was just good. So he'd be like, "Let's get out of here." I don't think so, Michael. I'm going to drive nicely. And it
wasn't what's his name, Mickey Rodney, right?
It was Val Kilmer.
Yeah, which was a terrible choice.
So, that was bound not to do good anyway.
Val Kilmer's way too cool.
Way too.
Mr.
I mean,
Feeney,
you had to have
Mr. Feeney.
Oh. It was a Mustang. I'm like, oh my god, what are you guys doing? Knight Rider, don't destroy this classic show.
You like the long stories that are.
Oh yeah, I like the long stories, connective. Just keep me into it. I don't want to be in and out and everything. I can just sit down and watch and put it in the background. I mean, just keep me investing in everything. So
that's why this episode was for you, DP, because I mean, they totally ended. It was like.
I mean, it was a cliffhanger, but
yes.
It's kind of like one of those A-Team episodes where you get like the you get like BA getting into some crap and everything, and then Hannibal comes at him and stuff. They had their hijinks and everything. Then you got like the class. Okay, this is part 1 or part 2. Okay. You got that classic, a cliffhanger. Okay, we can't finish this whole thing in one episode, so we got to do it finishing in the next episode, and then that's it.
You had to punch it in half.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, it's like what Hit said: same bad time, same bad channel. Back then they did.
Coming back next week.
Yeah,
it's called a teaser, man. It's how they get you hooked. And look, in the old days, it was like 50 million people watched it, and then they canceled it because no one cared. Like, I mean, that's how TV was back then.
I mean, if they wanted to keep people coming back, they had to hook them. So I mean,
if Disney wants to hook me, here's how they're going to do it. You ready for this? They are going they're going to bring Jar Jar Binks into this, and what's going to happen is the clones are going to take Jar Jar Binks hostage, and there's going to be another war between the Empire and the clones. And this pays off one of my all-time biggest things, which is how many wars were there with clones? 1. There was a clone war.
Yeah.
If there's clone wars, like in the 20th century, the human race had 2 wars, right? before we had the second war, we called the first war the war.
Yeah, we didn't even call it World War One. It was just the war, and then you didn't name it until the second one came out.
Right.
Came about.
Part two. They did the same thing here. They said,
"Whoa,
all right, we're going to be right back in France here in 20 years. Same bad time, same bad shit."
I don't believe you just said that. I don't believe it.
I mean, it's not my fault.
Do they ever refer to it as a Clone Wars in the universe?
I feel like that's what Leia's message is. You served my father during the Clone Wars.
Yeah, and there was an S.
Okay.
And this is very much listen. And this is very pedantic and very very parsy. But one time, I was playing a Star Wars trivia game with many of my friends from college, and they were showing it was guess the thing by looking at the Ralph McQuarrie art, and I said battle droid, and the answer was the super battle droid, and it was determined that I was wrong. So that's just kind of how it is for us.
Wait. Let me ask you a quick question, because I used to do this too. I used to play Star Wars trivia.
Yes, it's exactly that game.
Okay, was it just you against them?
No, because it was me and Thomas from our group was one of the other players. So it was actually pretty. It was not like me blowing away people with this.
No one would play. No one would be on my team. It was just me against 8 people. And I gave 8 people access to the internet, and they still couldn't beat me on that game. Sorry, I digress. Because I don't know many people that played Star Wars Trivial Pursuit as what am I like? I don't know. I'm a problem child with Star Wars.
You just said I'm here to take on any of you, and then won.
And it would be
from Roadhouse.
8 people with internet access, and here's me just sitting there like I know all this shit. So what are you coming at me for?
So in current terms, Ken, you basically soloed a legendary mission.
Yes.
Hey, that's epic.
I had all the pieces of the pie before anybody else did, and it was just me.
And as a reward, you.
Now,
it's the nerd.
And that was a lot of information to go through, right? City, right? That was a lot in those cards.
It was not easy. The game was not easy, and I believe I ended up winning, but that was my last winning puzzle piece, and it was determined that because I said Battle Droid rather than Super Battle Droid, that I was not allowed to get that piece, and there was much rejoicing. Yeah,
I hope they ate all the Cheetos too, because that's the appetizer during Trivial Pursuit.
I was living with this. I mean, not to get really off track here, but I mean, I was living with a jiu-jitsu black belt and a wrestling coach, so they were. I was not the top man on the totem pole in that apartment. Except in Star Wars Trivial Pursuit.
And that's all that matters.
It really is. I'm sure I'll hear about it now. It's going to be great. So we'll get a little spice in the comments section. Hey, one thing I was looking at, guys, while we were talking here, is where do you think, what's the air dates line up with Mandalorian? Is this season in Mando ending at the same time, or is Mando ending the week after? Because that's what I'm looking for. If Mando ends the week after Bad Batch, that is my high alert Omega spotting watch.
Omega spotting.
Okay.
That's a good point. Well, I mean, as we talked about this, and kind of leading into other talk points, it's kind of wrapping up this episode. We've always talked about everything Star Wars, everything they do right is calculated. And with ratings the way they are and the seasons the way they're lining up and the schedule, right? Why would you have properties competing with each other simultaneously? There has to be an underlying reason why they have these shows lined up like this. And I think we're going to be, as you said, Hitch, I think we're going to see a lot of revelations as far as how these shows interconnect. Because I'm not sure the Bad Batch is renewed for season 3 as of yet. So,
well, they might. My thing is, I think that we can pretty much pencil in that there's going to be some sort of cartoon that's going to tell the story of this universe at the end of the Clone Wars after Episode 3, and The live action stuff is mostly going to be, you know, the post episode 6 stuff, and then maybe the very old stuff. So I think even if they say, okay, we've told this story, we can look forward to, like, I don't know, the Darth Vader hunting down the Jedi for a while. I don't know. There's stuff that they can do in there to talk about how the Empire consolidated power and the evil crap they had to do so. So I think that there's going to be some sort of production here, whether it's got Hunter and, you know, Wrecker and, you know, Omega and Tech in it. I don't know about that, but I think there will be something. Unless they cut it, just like, you know, they just cut, I don't know. Who knows what they cut out of their budget for the next cycle. You think they wouldn't have to, given that Avatar made like $2 billion, and I have not heard a single person talk about it.
Consider that the Mandalorians will probably, it sounds like they're going to get a lot into the history of Mandalore in the season coming up. I don't see any room for anybody from Bad Batch, you know, popping up. But I mean, it's Filoni, so you know how he likes bringing his animated characters into live action. So wouldn't put it past, and it would be dope, especially if they announced that they were going to do like a second season of Boba Fett and everything. I would almost fully expect that to happen, right?
You give me a 90, like an old makeup, you know, Tech. It's like looks like 90 years old and like almost like an exoskeleton, because they have that in this unit. They have those things. Darth Vader is basically on an iron lung that walks around, pretty much. So they can do that. I would be down for that. Or if Hunter's the one that makes it or whatever, and then that would be a very interesting thing for me to see. I would enjoy that. But if it's not like, that's not one of those things that I consider to be a check. Like if they're just not there, I would understand that. But I really feel like at this point, sometime soon, Omega needs to run into one of these, you know, mainline characters to really tie the knot close.
Yeah. I totally 100% agree. Some. I mean, she's there for a reason. So she's like the Chekhov's clone, you know.
She is going to go off. Just tell you.
I mean, it got to be at some point, because you don't. I mean, what do you just have her there just, you know, for, you know, giggles and whatever and everything, you know?
Why not just because here's the thing. The character that you have in your stable right now that could use being plugged in here and gaining all these skills, like I said, Omega is literally Boba Fett. Like if these guys ran into Boba Fett and were like, oh wow, you're one of us, let's come with us, and then they were teaching him how to do all the bounty hunter stuff that he ends up needing to do. I think that would be interesting. So to not use Boba Fett and instead have this character, I think there has to be a reason, and it has to be better than they needed a girl, right? It has to be
right.
Yeah. Or needed someone to draw in like the younger, you know, kids or whatever. You know, to me, it needs to be something more.
Yeah, there would have to be a really concrete tie-in as to why Omega is a different gender than Boba Fett. Like what happened when they were doing the DNA and creating this clone. Why did it come out female? And are we sure that it is female?
I mean, J.K. Rowling, she would probably.
That's an interesting.
There's not been a pronoun used for Omega that assumes a female gender.
I think that we've been told that she's female, but if this was like you're saying, something where she's presenting as female but is not female, like biologically, I would find that to be interesting as a character arc. Because why would that
very
be
modern? Very, very.
It will be very modern. Yes.
I would be interested to see that. I'd be interested to know why, you know, why the Kaminoans felt.
I don't think that Disney is that complex to do that, though. I mean,
because Hunter didn't say go down and talk to her. He said go down and talk to Omega.
I'm not convinced that this is something. I don't know what's on the table with all that. I'm not convinced that it's something they're doing, but I think it's something they could do, and I think that this character, you know, could certainly lend itself to being a transgender character.
She's listed as a female Jango Fett clone.
So, female, but if I mean, if this character was the first Star Wars character to transition, I think they could pull that off at this point. I think it would be
for sure.
a very interesting
For sure.
story beat, right?
Yeah, definitely very, very, very modern and everything. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good storyline to explore. Probably a lot more mature than what they intend. But
We start off in the cartoons, right? And then you come around and we meet a character somewhere in the Mandalorian verse on Mandalore. Maybe you're in this group, and we don't, and there's no revelation, and we find out it's Omega later.
Right.
That's there's some. While I'm saying here, I'm not writing this story. I'm not ChatGPT. I'm not doing that. All I'm saying is basically there's a lot of ways they could do it. So if that's a direction they choose to go, I would say, okay, that's a written check, but I think that'll catch. I think that'll spin.
I mean, these what they're doing right now. I mean, I vote for interesting over cuteness.
Definitely. I'm definitely in the interesting for sure.
Interesting. I second that. Vote for interesting.
I'll definitely third that. But yeah, guys, I mean, kind of wrapping this episode up as far as our thoughts. There really wasn't a lot, but there was a lot of subplots leading into episode 10, and then that leads us into 11 and the premiere of Mandalorian. So interesting 2 weeks coming up here as well. Exciting times for us, exciting times for you guys, the community. And as DP said, please interact on our Facebook group. I mean, we're really trying to build up the buzz these 2 weeks leading up to Mandalorian. Maybe some of you guys' theories, we won't say conspiracy theories, but what are some of you guys' theories on what you're going to see? I mean, they did the final trailer for the Super Bowl that's out. So, I mean, they've leaked a lot of footage, and what we've seen typically is a lot of stuff is early. They like to bleed those trailers to the first 2 to 3 episodes, and then that's kind of like suspense leading into the rest. So, we have a lot of interesting things. And before we go as well, I just want to apologize on behalf of us. I know there's a lot of things and a lot of movies been out, but we will be back, guys, for our Nerd Psycho Comic Flick Show. Ant-Man does premiere actually midnight tonight, so we will do a Ant-Man and Quantumania, or Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. Or we'll just call it Ant-Man 3. We will have a review of that coming up into this week. So Nerd Psycho Comic Flick Show will be back with a review of Ant-Man and the Wasp and the Quantumania, as well as we'll do a little bit. We'll maybe give you guys our thoughts, because I know we didn't really get into Black Adam. We missed that one as well. We can go into a little bit of Avatar. So we'll really do like a Nerd Psycho Comic Flick Show. We won't just do a Quantumania review. So there's been a lot of stuff that's been out. Yeah. So we'll go over some
Studio stuff.
DC looks like they're coming out swinging. Another trailer, obviously, for Guardians, which is 3 months away. So yeah, we'll definitely be back with Nerd Psycho Comic Flick Show to give you guys our thoughts on what's going on the other realm outside of Star Wars as well. So that's something that we will be back this week to do, and got a couple of things planned for that. Obviously, Nerd Court will be back as well, so we're working on a couple dockets here. So we're going to see what we can do for you guys there. I mean, we have to dive into this season of Bad Batch and see where we are as far as that compared to, was Bad Batch a bigger success than Rebels? That kind of thing. So also, if you guys have any ideas, I know we talk about it all the time in our chats offline. If you guys have an idea for Nerd Court, please put it in the group, right? That's something we're open to feedback, open to thoughts. Interesting point was they showed a Wookiee Jedi. Why didn't we show the Mandalorian Jedi or other species of different Jedi? So there are all kind of talk tracks we can go over and interesting things. I mean, this year we really want to take the channel to another level, whether it be do a call-in show at some point, maybe Skyping and maybe a guest questionnaire on my air. We're open to a lot of things. So yeah, please interact on Facebook. That's the best way. Or email us if you guys have any ideas or want to be involved with the channel in any case.
We're all about inclusion here.
So definitely, guys, keep in touch with us. But yeah, guys, another fun week. And leading into next week, episode 10, guys, that's really pretty much it for me. So until next week, guys, this is the way.
This is the way.